Okay, good. Center for Information and Guidance India, Cigi, സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന സൺഡേ കരിയർ ഓൺലൈൻ എന്ന ഭാഗമായി ഇന്നിവിടെ ഒരുമിച്ച് കൂടിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന പോലെ തന്നെ സിജി സെന്റർ ഫോർ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ഗൈഡൻസ് ഇന്ത്യ കരിയർ ഗൈഡൻസ് സൗജന്യമായി വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളിലേക്ക് എത്തിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സെന്ററുകളിലായിട്ട്, ഓഫീസുകളിലായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക്
സൗണ്ട് ഓഡിബിൾ അല്ല കേട്ടോ.
ഞായറാഴ്ച ഒഴികെയുള്ള എല്ലാ ദിവസങ്ങളിലും സൗജന്യ കരിയർ ഗൈഡൻസ് ഓഡിബിൾ അല്ലേ? മറ്റാരെങ്കിലും ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഓൺലൈനിൽ വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾക്ക് കരിയർ ഗൈഡൻസ് ലഭ്യമാക്കുക എന്ന ലക്ഷ്യത്തോടു കൂടിയാണ് ഇത്തരത്തിൽ ഞായറാഴ്ചകൾ വെബിനാറുകൾ വ്യത്യസ്തങ്ങളിലേക്ക് സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചു വരുന്നത്. കരിയർ സംശയങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ള അവസരം കൂടിയാണ് ഞായറാഴ്ചകളിൽ നമ്മൾ സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചു വരുന്ന ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള വെബിനാറുകൾ. വ്യത്യസ്തമായിട്ടുള്ള വിഷയങ്ങളിലാണ് നമ്മളിത് സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുക എന്ന് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങളുടെ വ്യത്യസ്തമായിട്ടുള്ള സംശയങ്ങൾ ഇതിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആൻസർ സെഷനിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാവുന്നതാണ്. അതിന് നമ്മളുടെ കൗൺസിലേഴ്സ് കൂടി ഈ ഒരു സൺഡേ കരിയർ ഓൺലൈൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് ഇതിലുണ്ടാവും. അവരുകൂടി അതിന് ആൻസർ നൽകിയിട്ട് ജർമ്മനിയിലെ കോഴ്സുകളെയും യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റികളെയും പരിചയപ്പെടുക എന്ന ലക്ഷ്യത്തോടെയാണ്, ജർമ്മനിയിൽ പഠിക്കുന്നതോടുകൂടിയാണ് ഇന്നത്തെ സെഷൻ രൂപകൽപ്പന ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. ലീഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ജർമ്മനിയിൽ തന്നെ പഠിക്കുന്ന BSc മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് പഠിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന മുഹമ്മദ് ഫായിസ് ആണ്. ജർമ്മനിയിലെ വിവിധ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റികളെയും കോഴ്സുകളെയും പരിചയപ്പെടാം. +2 ഡിഗ്രി വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾക്ക് അപേക്ഷിക്കാവുന്ന കോഴ്സുകളും യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റികളും ഏതെല്ലാമാണ്, എങ്ങനെയാണ് അപേക്ഷിക്കുക, സ്കോളർഷിപ്പുകൾ ഏതെല്ലാം തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടുള്ള എല്ലാ വിവരങ്ങളും ഈ ഒരു വെബിനാറിലൂടെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും. ഈ ഒരു വെബിനാറിന് നേതൃത്വം നൽകാൻ വേണ്ടി മുഹമ്മദ് ഫായിസിനെ ആദരപൂർവ്വം ക്ഷണിക്കുകയാണ്. ഒരു വെബിനാർ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലായിരിക്കും ഉണ്ടാവുക. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Muhammad Faiz.
Thank you. So let's get started on the slideshow. Can everyone see this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So good morning, first and foremost, and this is my presentation on study in Germany. First of all, I should introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Faiz Padnaravalapil. I'm currently studying BSc Mechanical Engineering International at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, KIT, and I have done the IB program at Swiss International Scientific School in Dubai. I have done all my research for myself when I was looking into universities, and I obviously have a specialization towards the knowledge about engineering in Germany. The first question you will ask yourself is, why Germany? And when I talk about German universities, I'm talking mainly about public universities, as public universities have a better reputation here. In addition, when it comes to jobs, employers prefer students with public education than private education, as private universities are considered degree mills, as in they see it as you pay for the degree rather than you study through the degree. So one of the biggest advantages about Germany is either the tuition-free or low-cost education. Public universities are free in most scenarios. I'll talk about the costs related to tuition later in the presentation. The next one is high-quality education. If you look at QS World Ranking, for example, you will find a lot of German universities in the top 100, top 200, and it's up there as one of the countries to study in. The next one I would like to talk about is affordable cost of living. If you compare the country to other popular study destinations like Australia, the US, UK, Netherlands, Singapore, you'll find that Germany has an affordable cost of living and doesn't necessarily have a huge cost behind housing and so on. Similarly, Germany is also safe and there's a high standard of living here. And you'll find, compared to a lot of other European countries and even amongst all of the world, it's one of the safest countries to live in and work. The next one I would like to talk about is job opportunities. Obviously, when you think about studying somewhere, you do plan to work there as well. When it comes to IT, engineering, and healthcare facilities, uh, Germany has a shortage of workers in these areas, and oftentimes you'll find it easier to find a job alongside having a great pay, as Germany is one of the economic powerhouses in the European Union. Now, I have talked about the advantages of Germany, but I cannot leave out the challenges you might face in Germany. The first thing is the German language requirements or limited English courses. So a lot of the public universities I talked about offer most of their courses, I would say around 90% of their courses in German, and there's very limited options for an English-speaking student. And on a day-to-day basis, it really depends on how big a city is. If you're in a bigger city, you don't need much German. You can live your life with English. But with a smaller population or with an older population, you will have to use a bit of German. So I would say it's always good to have the basic German down, which is not very hard. The next one is the bureaucratic processes here. You'll find that you'll have to deal with a lot of bureaucratic processes in Germany, and like bureaucratic processes everywhere in the world, it is very slow. So keep that in mind. Plan ahead. One of the things I had to plan ahead for was when I was moving to my new place here. Internet, for example, uh, it takes around a month for internet to come by. So I got my contract, and even before I moved in, I had to apply for internet so I could get it in time. And I actually got it a week later than I expected. So it was a week after I moved in. But you have to apply for such contracts and anything that works with a huge company or the government pretty early. The next thing on the list is racism. I personally, I have to say, have not faced any racism. However, uh, you will find racism in some parts of the country. The best way to explain this is on the right, you see a map, and on the map, you can see the blue area. The blue area is basically the area that voted for the far right party in the last election. And generally, this area or old East Germany is considered more racist than other places. And when I say racist, it's not just directed towards Indians or people with darker skin tone. It's towards anyone who's not German. So you might want to be careful when you go to these places. But in my city, in Karlsruhe, it's a very international society here, and it's everyone comes from a different place, so it's not really common to face racism. Now on to the next one, general academic pathways. I'll be talking about the general pathways that are possible for a student. If there's anything I don't mention, like I don't really go into detail about a lot of degrees such as pharmaceutical or so on. You can always use the website I have put on the first bullet point, daad.de. I can show that later on in the presentation if you guys would like. So the first one for undergraduates, medicine. The good thing about medicine is there's a 5% quota for international students from outside EU, but strong German is needed, so around C1 to C2 level. So if you're able to master that German, you're almost guaranteed to get a place within this 5% quota. Granted, you have a good grade and so on, and you as an international student, you're exempted from the national German medicine test, which is needed for placement, and it's much easier for an international student to get a place into a medical university than it is for a German student. The next facility is field I would like to talk about is engineering. This is what I have experience with. There's only limited English courses. You'll find a lot of it is in German, and that's true for most undergraduate programs. But there are some really good universities offering English courses, and I feel like there's a shift towards offering more and more English courses recently in engineering. When I was researching for my studies, that was 1 year ago. I didn't find a lot of English courses, but the other day I was just checking it again, and I found there's a lot more options. Not many from big universities, so nothing from a TU9 university. TU9 is the top 9 technical universities who offer engineering. However, there are some good ones like aerospace engineering from TU München, TU Munich, or the one I'm studying right now, which is Mechanical Engineering International from KIT, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. Then business management, there are a lot of English courses. The norm for business management or administration here in Germany is to study it in English. You'll find top universities like University of Mannheim teaching it in English, and there are a lot of different options for like specialization within business management for English. Another pathway I would like to talk about is Ausbildung or vocational training. So fields like nursing, IT specialist, mechanics, anything I like to think of as hands-on are done as vocational training. It's not necessarily a degree per se, but the benefit of vocational training is you get paid while studying. So you get paid around 1,000 euros per month to study nursing, for example. And once you finish studying nursing, you can find a job pretty easily, like I said, because of healthcare worker shortages. And it's a pretty good solution for people who want to earn while they earn while they study and then find a job right away. However, I would have to say you need a decent amount of German, so you would need a B2 level German, B2 to C1 level, depends on the place, and there will be a bit of technical vocabulary that you would have to master as well. Now, in specific, I would like to talk about engineering undergraduate. The first thing you have to keep in mind is the Indian CBSE or state board is considered worldwide a 12-year program. So grade 1 to grade 12, grade 1 to plus 2, and the German Abitur is a 13-year program. So you'll have an issue with equivalency. However, if you're studying something like GCSE or A levels or the IB, you'll find it is equivalent, and there's only a few requirements you have to meet to get into a German university. So when you're coming from CBSE or state level, there are three primary pathways for direct admissions. That's appearance for JEE Advanced, or 1 year of bachelor's completed in India, or going to a Studienkolleg. A Studienkolleg is a foundation year done in German. So to apply for a Studienkolleg, you would need a B1 or so German. And basically what they do is they teach you math, physics, chemistry, German, and biology. So that's mainly for technical course in German. So you're studying all of these things in German, and it's basically a +1 and +2 just summarized into 1 year. And you're better prepared for universities, but you also know everything in German. So you can set yourself up to study a German course if that's what you're interested in. And if you're planning to study a German course, there are a lot more options. These are for direct admissions. However, you will find some options for indirect admissions. I know my friend who came to study MEI, Mechanical Engineering International, at KIT. And the way he did it was he finished +2 and he had to take a summer course. So he came in like 3 months earlier than everyone else. And he had to take a summer course at the university where he had to study all of these stuff, and he had a test at the end. And if he passed the test, he gets into the university without spending that one extra year. For English courses, you'll have to prove English proficiency. that is TOEFL or IELTS. So that would be, to get a good score on those, the requirements vary from university to university. If you're doing an international curriculum like IB, oftentimes you'll find that the English requirements are covered by the course itself. Uh, the next one is for German courses. If you're interested in that, you can take a GOTE or Test DAF, and you would have to show B2 or C1 level in general to qualify for most of the German programs. The next thing in mind is costs. Like I said earlier, public universities are free and only require administration fees. That's around 150 to 300 euros. However, there are some exceptions to this rule. It's 1,500 euros per sem at Baden-Württemberg for international students, and that's where my university, KIT, is located. And public universities in Bavaria can charge tuition fee for international students. Currently, only TU Munich is charging international students for studying in their university, and that's around 2,000 to 3,000 euros per sem for bachelors. Living cost, 11,904 euros per year is the German government estimate. And when you apply for your visa, you'll have to show this fund for 1 year. There are different ways you can show it. So one way is scholarship. The second is a blocked account. The third is parents' finances. Everyone recommends a blocked account over parents' finance or scholarships, as blocked accounts tend to be more accepted by the German government and the embassy. And the way it works is you send this money you put this money in a German account, and it's a frozen account there. And every month they give 1/12 of it back to you. So no money is lost. It's just you might have to give a slight amount of money for opening the account, but otherwise most of this 11,904 euros, you will get it over 12 months. So each month you'll get 1/12 of it, and you have your money to live in Germany for at least 1 year. Another major cost, I would say, is health insurance. That comes around 100 to 200 euros a month, and health insurance is mandatory for all students. And public health insurance would be around 130 to 180 euros, within that range. And for students, there is a discount on the public health insurance, and you'll find the coverage is pretty great for public health insurance. There is an option of private health insurance, but it's not recommended, as the coverage can be limited if it's a cheap one, or it's overpriced for someone who's studying. So you can look into that, but everyone will recommend to take a public health insurance. Now, I mentioned scholarships, and part-time jobs as a way of funding as well. So once again, for scholarships, DAAD.de is one of the best places to find scholarships. I will have to say, though, scholarships are very limited for undergraduate students. If you're looking for postgraduate or so on, you will find plenty of scholarships for that. But as an international undergraduate student, it's very limited. Something you can apply for is the scholarship called Deutschland Stipendium, which is just a stipend of 300 euros per month, and the requirements are very little. You have to show a CV, a voluntary program, and so on, and stuff like this. But it's very limited. There might be some scholarships that's more in your field. So, like, if you're planning to study something other than engineering, you might find some scholarship specific to your studies or so on. Another option is the university website. You might be able to find some financial aid there. You might also be able to just go ahead and ask admission officers, if you find their emails on the university website, if they have uh, financial aid for students that are in your situation. So, like, uh, your background and what you're planning to study. When it comes to part-time jobs, under the student visa, an international student can work that's switched 240 half days or 120 full days. There's a mistake there. And with a few exceptions. So some exceptions are if you work with the university as a research assistant, or we call it a high job, and stuff like that. So it says there's very minimal exceptions, but you can say 120 half days, which would be 4 hours per day, 120 full days, or which is 120 times 8, or 240 times 4. The next one is visa processes and residence permit. So for the requirements, the biggest challenge in terms of understanding something would be the financial proof. And as an Indian student, you'll have to get an APS certificate to apply to universities, as well as showing that your plus two your plus two qualifications and so on are notarized for the German authorities and so on. So that you have to get an APS certificate, and that's about it. Those are the main ones. Obviously, there's the acceptance letters and so on. For the requirements, you can see at this website here. You can just search up student visa Germany from India, and you'll be able to find it. And then once you have the visa, you have to understand the visa is considered just an entry for you into Germany. The visa doesn't necessarily it's not a proof of stay for all of your studies. So once you reach Germany, you have to do something called city registration within 2 weeks of getting a place. So once you sign the contract, you want to apply for the Anmeldung, or the city registration at the city hall at Rathaus within 2 weeks of moving, and just go there with the document. You can search this up online, that you get from your landlord. And then once you have your city registration, you can apply for your residence permit at Ausländerbehörde, foreigner's office at the city hall once again. And this residence permit will be your proof of stay for the duration of your study. Now, living in Germany, the first point is depending on the city, you might need to know a bit of German. A good example of this is my friend. He lives in Paderborn, and Paderborn is a very small city. I think around a population of 100,000 or so, and most of the people there are on the older side, so they don't necessarily speak English, and you would need to know quite a bit of German just to survive there. I live in Karlsruhe, population of around 300,000, and I can do just fine with English here. There have been times I had to use German. For example, for official reasons, they will only use German. So it's always good to know a bit of German. And on a day-to-day basis, maybe at the cashiers, just like with card or so on, small bits of German that can help. And in a city like Berlin, for example, you don't need German at all. I would even go to say that English is the main language there. But yeah, depending on the city, you might need to know a bit of German. Next one is public transport. As a student, you have a discounted monthly pass called the Deutschland ticket, or Deutschland Pass, which is a D ticket, and that comes around 40 euros a month, and that's unlimited travel for that month on all regional trains, buses, and trams, and so on. So use it well, and you don't really have to think about getting a car or getting a license here, as both of those are expensive. As a student, you'll be fine just using public transport, or even using a bicycle to get to school, or just walking to uni if you're close enough. The next one is Sundays are rest days. Plan accordingly. When I say rest days, almost everything is closed on Sundays. If you want emergency groceries or medicine, you'll find things close to the central train stations open. But other than that, your local grocery and everything else will be closed. Restaurants are open, so you can get takeout and so on. But generally, you want to plan accordingly the for Sundays. Do your groceries on a Saturday or a Friday, and so on. There's the German garbage sorting system, which they're pretty strict on. It really depends on the landlord. So you have on the right, you'll see the different bins and what goes in each bin. And depending on your landlord, you might have to know them very well, or they'll just pass it off. There's also a fund system, which is where you put a small deposit in for bottles and whatnot, and you can get it refunded and use it for grocery bills. The next point is, I think, one of the most important ones as a new person moving to Germany. That's beware of housing scams. Well, when you're first planning to move to Germany, there are a few things that can make you less alert or less hesitant than you're used to. That that's finding accommodation. So when you first come to Germany, there's always that thing about it's hard to find an accommodation. Like everything is being taken up by other students. You're not able to find a place to live. You don't want to spend too much money on living in a hotel or something. So you want to find a place quick. But this is where um, people exploit your weakness and try to get them to get you to pay them. A housing scam. You might find out, you might stumble upon a housing scam on WG Gesucht or any of the common search engines for housing. And a golden rule I have is you don't transfer any money until you have one, the keys, and two, a contract signed. So the deposit, you pay it as you get the keys, and the first month's rent, you pay on the first day of the month, which is described according to your contract. But no money before this. They A common sign of this would be people saying, "Oh, pay me like €100 to keep it reserved for you, or else I'll go with other tenants." Do not fall for that. No money before you get keys or the first of the month. That's basically it. Obviously, it's much easier to find a place once you're in Germany than when you're outside it. So keep that in mind as well. And it's better to stay a few extra days in a hotel than to fall for these scams. So beware of these scams. Now, general roadmap. So once you complete the requirements, you apply for university either directly or through Uni Assist. You might have to show the APS certificate at this point. And once you have applied for them, you'll receive an acceptance letter from the university. As soon as you receive this acceptance letter, the next three things, I think you have to go for them quick. So blocked account, you apply for a blocked account and you open one and transfer the money. You try to get a visa appointment because when you have received the acceptance letter, at the same time the other students also get their acceptance letter. So you can say that a lot of the visa appointments are going to get booked up. You might get a visa appointment for like 2 months later, and that might be just in time for your uni studies. So you want to get it as early as possible, as there is a bit of processing time for your visa, and you want to apply for it as early as possible, but only after you get the acceptance letter, as that's a requirement for your visa appointment. The next thing you want to do is apply for the student accommodation as well. So if your city or if your student association from the that's associated with the university have student accommodations, do apply for them. They're generally the cheapest housing you can find, and are often close to the university or have some kind of direct transportation to the university. Uh, for my example, in Karlsruhe, uh, major point here is that universities do not have their own hostels or accommodation. It's by the student associations that are running this. So in Karlsruhe, I can think of five big student accommodations. That is Hadiko, HFK, stuff like this, and they require you to apply at least 1.5 months earlier. But applying that applying that late in this situation will not guarantee you a place, and it's based on a first come first serve. So you want to apply as early as possible. Then you go to your visa appointment, present everything, and then once you have your documents, you prepare for your travels. I think you have what I mean by preparing for your travel is get some spices, get some pots and stuff. you would have in Kerala or India that you might not have in Germany. So just keep things in mind. Maybe get some sweet treats that remind you of home when you feel homesick, and so on. Now, let me talk about my experience. So, initial interest in KIT. Uh, I knew I wanted to study mechanical engineering. That was the one thing I knew for certain. And I was looking at some of the countries that had some of the best engineering programs in general. That was the US, UK, Canada, Netherlands, Singapore, Japan, China, and Germany. Now, I cut down on a few of these countries. So the US, UK, not Netherlands, Canada, Singapore. These four countries are generally very expensive to study in, and that's not considering the living cost there. The next one is China and Japan. These countries require you to kind of know a bit of their language, a bit like Germany. But in Germany it's German, and Japan Japanese, China Chinese. They obviously have programs in English as well, but I feel like Japan and China would be too much of a culture shock for myself. So those were out of the equation, and the two countries I was left with were the Netherlands and Germany. And so with this knowledge, I applied to three universities, two in Netherlands and two in one in Germany. So the one I applied to in Germany is KIT. The two I applied to in Netherlands is Twente and Eindhoven. I got into all three, but the fees for international students in Netherlands is around 10,000 euros per year in 10,000 euros per year, and in Germany I would be paying around 3,000 per year. So it's cheaper, by it's three times cheaper, and the quality of education is, if not equal, even better. First days in Germany, house hunting. So once I had everything sorted, um, I realized it's a bit late, which is why I emphasized it in the last slide. Um, you have to apply for student accommodation very early. So by the time I was applying for student accommodation, it was too late for me to get a place in any of the hostels or anything. So I was looking for private vegas. Vegas are shared accommodation where you have your own room, but you share the bathroom, the kitchen, and the common spaces. So I was looking for private vegas and so on different apps. I was talking to a lot of people before I came to Germany. So around a month before, I had a few appointments down. Once I was in Germany, I saw the places in person, because seeing the place in person is a major part of making sure it's not a scam and you're not signing for something that doesn't exist. So I saw a few places and chose one out of like the three places I saw, and I started living there. Obviously, it was not the best place. It was a bit more on the expensive side, and it was a bit far from uni, but it was the best out of the options I had because I was a bit late to everything. So, housing for student accommodation, apply as early as possible. For private Vegas or private search, a month before should be fine, or even earlier if you're interested. But you have to keep in mind of your move-in date and when your visa might come, when your visa will allow you to travel to Germany, and so on. The next part is living alone for the first time. So moving here was the first time I was living alone. There were a lot of new things to study or new things for me to get used to. So that's cooking, uh, and cooking is a huge part. When you're at home, it's easy. You sit there, your mom cooks for you. It's great food all the time. You don't really think about it much, and all of a sudden you're living alone. You got to think about what you're cooking, how you're cooking it, what ingredients you have to buy, what you have to add to your grocery list, so you're not missing one ingredient to make a dish. Obviously at the start you're making some awful like stuff, like your diet is mainly noodles or something, and then you get used to incorporating different meals and so on. And you can always order from restaurants and so on, but you will find that it's the German taste bud is very bland, so not a lot of spices, nothing spicy. I mean, salt and pepper is about their extent, I would say. So that was a huge part for me. Really missed my mom's cooking there. It's the small things, obviously, and then there's getting used to laundry, cleaning my room, and so on, and just keeping clean, keeping clean, and keeping everything all right. Being self-organized. Next one is the public transportation. For me, that was really nice. I lived in Dubai before, and I used to rely on the public transportation quite a bit. And compared to Dubai, it was day and night. Um, the German public transport was amazing. I was traveling around Germany with all within my student ticket. I was seeing different cities here and there, and it was really nice. And I could just get to uni with a quick tram, and in general, it was very convenient for me to use the public transportation. The next one I would like to talk about is studies difficulty. This is more or less personalized. So this could be because I moved from a school system to uni system, or maybe it's the German system. But the professors require you to be very self-disciplined. So they require you to like look at the lecture before you get to the university, right? So you want to go through the lecture, you want to kind of study it before you get to the lecture, so that you know the script in and out. And then when you're at the lecture, you're just clarifying some things, and then you have your tutorial where you get to ask questions, work on problems, and then you come home and you're revising everything. You don't want to leave everything to the end. And with the German system, it's one final exam at the end of the semester, so you want to like study throughout and not push it towards the last weeks. And there's not a lot of project based stuff, so these exams are a huge part for you, a huge part of the curriculum. Now I'm open to Q&A. Maybe I'll show the websites I would recommend looking through before the Q&A. I'll please take down my outlook for later if you require more questions or more help. So there are two websites I was talking about. I can just show them to you right now. So the first website I would like to talk about is DAAD.de. Here you can find a lot of resources, like I said, universities and program and scholarships and funding. So degree programs in Germany, you can use these filters. They're amazing. So you have the admission deadlines and the study modes. Course language is a major one. So you want to look for English courses, and you find 3,000 or so. And then you can find what kind of degree you want, bachelor's. So now you have 394, and in what course of study. So if you want to go to engineering science, I'll go to the one mechanical engineering. There are a lot more options now. So you have aerospace, applied mechatronics. You have a lot of options here. And you have the deadlines. You have the standard period of study, which is 7 or 6 semester. You have the location. And if you click on it, for example, KIT, there's 17 days left to apply. You can find their tuition fees below, and you can find information on it by going to the website, for example. And then next one is the QS World Studies. So if you want to look for good universities, I think this is one of the best resources you have. Here I have already set it to Germany and mechanical, aeronautical, and manufacturing engineering. So in terms of ranking, Aachen is is the best in Germany for under this field. Then it's Munich, and it's KIT, Berlin, TU Berlin, Stuttgart, and so on. This is the main resources I would recommend using. There are other resources open in Google, and you can find it a lot. I'll just share the other slide so you can take it down. I'm open to questions if you guys have any. Also, I would like to state that the visa start date is often based on the start date of your studies. So if your studies are starting on 26th October, your visa will likely start on 26th September, so 1 month before your studies actually begin, and not earlier than that. So you'll have to plan accordingly. If you have any questions, please contact me at this email address. And feel free to ask questions right now as well.
Hello, Faiz.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Faiz. Actually, it was a well covered session and quite interesting as well as amazing. Okay, and one question I have is basically as we then go ahead with the visa processing. So apart from the students, whether is there any provision for the parent can also get the visa to visit the country and just to make the initial processing and to help the student?
That's a good question. So when I first went to Germany, I went with my dad. So I applied for the student visa. My dad applied for the Schengen visa, so the Schengen tourism visa, I believe, and he was able to visit with me. So you can always apply. You can always do it that way. I have a question in the chat. Can you talk about Heidelberg University? Heidelberg, it's the city itself is very close to Karlsruhe. I believe the Heidelberg University is very well known in the medical field and optics and so on, but I'm not very sure about it. What was the reason for you to choose traditional mechanical engineering? For me, the reason to choose traditional mechanical engineering over new gen subjects is it's always for bachelor's or for undergraduate program. I believe a strong foundation is very important. So something that's very basic. So something like mechanical will allow you to specialize into a lot of different things for your master's or your specializations in the future. So I do plan to go into automotive for my master's, but over the 3 years, my plans could change. I might want to study something else, and it will still be within my scope as long as I study mechanical. However, if I study something very specialized like AI, technology, or so on, there's not a lot of wiggle room for me to study something else once I go into masters. Is B2 level important for Ausbildung in IT field? Now, IT field, for IT field, so if you're planning to work in Germany in the IT field, generally all companies will work, most companies I will say will work in English, and English is fine. However, if you're doing Ausbildung, you do need B2 level. So Ausbildung is for IT technicians more than people who are sitting at desks. And you would need to require some level of German to communicate with customers and so on. And you would require around a B2 level. Details about, it's just appearing for JE advanced enough, or do we need to qualify it? There is a bit of vagueness on the JE advanced and so on. So different universities have different requirements. I've seen some people say appearance for JE advanced. Some people say JE advanced qualification and so on. So I'm not sure about that, and I think that might vary from university to university. So you'll want to find you might want to find someone who is already you might want to find a university and then think about the process. Details about BSc nursing. Okay, so nursing is very popular here. ഇവിടുത്തെ കൂടുതൽ മലയാളം സ്റ്റുഡൻസും നഴ്സിംഗ് ആണ് ചൂസ് ചെയ്യല്. അവരെന്താ വെച്ചാൽ നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് B2 ജർമ്മൻ വരെ പഠിക്കും. പിന്നെ B2 പഠിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇവിടേക്ക് വന്നിട്ട് ഹൗസ് ബിൽഡിംഗ് തുടങ്ങും. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഹൗസ് ബിൽഡിങ്ങിൽ അവർക്ക് ഫൈനാൻഷ്യൽ പ്രൂഫ് necessary അല്ല. They get 1,000 euros per month when they're studying nursing, and I think it's a very good field with a lot of future in Germany, as like I said, a huge healthcare worker shortage. I would like to know about what is the scope of pharmacy course of pharmaceutical industry. I'm not very sure about pharmacy course. I looked at pharmaceuticals and I wasn't able to find anything directly that said pharmaceutical. I was able to find some courses that were how do I explain this, a bit here and there. So like it didn't specifically mention pharmaceutical, but you can check on the daad.de. So if you go to the thing under medicine, you'll be able to find your courses that are in English, and not really anything for pharmaceutical. There are stuff like physiotherapy at there is one at physiotherapy at Osnabrück University of Applied Sciences. Know about MBBS mark requirements or percentage requirements. For bachelor's, so if you're planning to study medicine or to be a doctor, I believe I'm not sure about the mark requirement, which you would have to look up for each university, but you do need a C2 level German. That is the biggest part of studying medicine. You need a very good German level, as all of the medicine courses are in German. And the study costs, almost all of the medicine German universities are public. I think there are 5 of them that are not, and those ones can be expensive. They're anywhere from 1,000 euros per semester to like 10,000. So it really varies. I'll just put the websites in the chat. That's the website for finding degree programs and scholarships. Scope of studying psychology. Psychology. I'm not sure about the scope of it, but I can tell you, bachelor's wise, there's one program under health and environmental psychology that is in English for bachelor's. The reason why I'm talking only about bachelor's is for master's there's a lot of options. BCA. I think for you can search online for Ausbildung. Obviously, you can find researches. You can research this online. A lot of these things. I'm not quite sure on how you can apply for Ausbildung. Is it possible to get a fully funded scholarship for bachelor's? I don't think so. For bachelor's, there are very limited scholarships for bachelor's, and then when you narrow it down further with narrow it further with you being an international student that is studying in English, the options are very limited. To get a fully funded scholarship is unlikely, but you can always try. You can try to find stuff. And like I would like to say, just every year there's new and new things coming up. So it's always good to have this website in mind. And for the earlier question, BCA cybersecurity, you can apply for masters and plan to go for that. Ausbildung is generally done after high school, so after +2 is when you do Ausbildung, and then you start working, and you work your way up the ladder rather than study more and get better. But yeah, you can look for masters, and for postgraduate, there's a lot of options in English. Generally, even the German students will do their postgraduates in English. Veterinary science. I have not looked into that field, but I can do a quick look around here. I don't necessarily see anything, but feel free to use the website to look for veterinary science. But do not limit yourself to just Germany for stuff like this. For engineering, Germany is amazing. I will say this much. For nursing, Germany is amazing. For medicine, Germany is amazing. For and there are other countries in Europe and worldwide that are also good for such stuff. Is it? So another question here. Are the hostels you mentioned earlier co-ed? Most hostels, all the hostels I mentioned in Karlsruhe were co-ed, so they were mixed. But I believe there are some hostels for just female students. So there are some that are privately run, and there are some by like the church that are run by the church here. So you don't have to be Christian or so on or follow Christian practices um, to join such hostels. But it's like only for female students. What about German languages? Well, if you can study German, that is the best option, as it will open up a lot of choices for your studies. BCA, CB, cybersecurity, or MBA or MCA, cybersecurity comparison. I'm not sure about that. Like I said, I looked very much into engineering side of things, so cybersecurity, I'm not sure about the comparison. Can students become independent?
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question, please?
Go on.
Yeah, Faiz, your talk, real life experience there in Germany, it was really super inspiring. And my question is, mostly students prefer study abroad because they would like to stay back. And how easy the procedure is there in Germany compared to, UK or some other countries? How
Yeah,
easy it is, and what are the options?
That's a very good point. So generally, if you work as an engineer or in the medical field or a field where you can be considered a high talented employee, it's very easy to find. It's very easy to get your PR, permanent residency. So as a student who's starting bachelor's, for me, my game plan or plan would be to finish my bachelor's and then go for a job, work for 2 years, and then I'll get a settlement permit within the after these 2 years. So I have a permit to to live in Germany for the rest of my life. And then once I have a long term residence, and I live on that long term residence for 5 years, I'm able to apply for the German citizenship and get the German passport if I have the B1 level German. Is your university good for computer science and engineering? How about the fee? KIT is very good for computer science and engineering, and the fee, like I said, is 1,500 euros per semester. Um, I have to say the only English undergraduate program that KIT offers is the mechanical engineering one I'm studying, and there are a lot more options for postgraduates, but yeah. Best university for biomedical engineering. I'm not very sure about that. You might be able to find some degree program in the DAAD.de website, and that could work. Is it necessary to get citizenship to live a comfortable life there? No. You can live your life as an expat here, you'll be fine. But if you plan to live here for a long time, or if you plan to retire here, it's always good to have a citizenship. Something like, you'll find two kinds of people here. You have people who will integrate well into the culture, the German culture. You have people who will miss home. So I know a lot of people who are planning to who are working here in the IT field, for example. They're earning a lot of money here, but eventually when they plan to retire, they plan to go back to Kerala. They have houses built there and so on. So you don't necessarily need a citizenship if you plan to live here. Yeah, that's very good. Scope for Ausbildung in mechatronics. I believe mechatronics is not an Ausbildung subject. I haven't seen any Ausbildung for mechatronics. I do know they have BSc mechatronics at technical universities here. So even in KIT there's mechatronics, but it's in German. Go on.
How many participants? From 85 to 55.
Can you repeat that? Is that a question? Okay, I guess not. Minimum wage there for a student. The minimum wage for a student and in general is the same. I believe it's around 13 euros per hour. It's 12.82 per hour. And you can find competitive wages. If you're working as a student assistant, you can expect around 14 or 16 per hour. And the hours are generally flexible if you're working a part-time job. I have to say a lot of part-time jobs do require you to have conversational German. So it's kind of hard if you don't know the German for it. There are some English options at bigger companies and so on, but it's better to learn a bit of German before you come here. Any other question? Feel free to ask questions in Malayalam as well. I will answer it in Malayalam.
ഓക്കെ, ഡൗട്ട്സ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആളുകൾക്ക് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്ത് ചോദിക്കാവുന്നതാണ്.
മുസ്ലിം പെൺകുട്ടികൾക്ക് അവിടെ പഠിക്കാനുള്ള സാഹചര്യം എന്താ?
മുസ്ലിം കൾച്ചർ ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. ബാക്കിൻ്റെ രാജ്യങ്ങളും പോലെയല്ല, ബാക്കിൻ്റെ യൂറോപ്യൻ രാജ്യങ്ങൾ പോലെയല്ല. ഇവിടെ ഒരു മുസ്ലിം പോപ്പുലേഷന് കുറെ ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്. മെയിൻലി ടർക്കിഷ്, ഇറാഖി, സിറിയൻസ് ആണ് ഇവിടെ മേജർ മുസ്ലിം കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നത്. എൻ്റെ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിൽ തന്നെ ഒരു മുസ്ലിം കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി സർട്ടിഫൈ ചെയ്തൊരു ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൾ റൈറ്റ്. മുസ്ലിം പെൺകുട്ടി എന്ന ചോദ്യത്തിൽ പെൺകുട്ടിയല്ല, അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് ഇല്ല. പക്ഷേ generally it's a good culture. If you're right, you will be all right. നമ്മളെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നോക്കി പോയാൽ നന്നായിട്ട് എല്ലാതും പോകും. Can we cover all the expenses by part-time job? All the expenses by part-time job. Part-time job വെച്ചിട്ട് expense cover ചെയ്യൽ പാടായിരിക്കും. So there are different categorizations of jobs in Germany. So there's something called mini job and there's part-time job. You will find a lot of mini jobs for students. that will give you around less than 560 euros per month, which is the taxation limit. Because if you earn more than 560, the companies have to pay tax on your behalf to the government, and it gets messy and legal. So they tend to pay less than that. 560 euros is, I would say, is not enough to live in Germany. It might be enough if you're living in a very small city with like almost nothing, but yeah, generally I would say 800 to 1,000 euros is what you need. And if you're in a more expensive city like Berlin, I would say even 1,200. Go ahead. Just see if you have a question. Hand raise ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. Just see TP question.
ഒരു
Doubt എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടോ?
ഒരു +2 സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്റിൻ്റെ പാരൻ്റ് എന്നുള്ള ഇതിൽ എൻ്റെ മകള് അവിടെ എത്തി പഠിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി എനിക്ക് എത്ര എക്സ്പെൻസ് വേണ്ടി വരും?
ഇവിടെ എത്തി പഠിക്കാൻ എക്സ്പെൻസ് ഈ +2 എന്താ ജർമ്മൻ സിസ്റ്റംക്ക് ഒരു ഇക്വലൻസി കൊണ്ടുവരണം. അപ്പോൾ അതിന് ഒരു കൊല്ലം ബാച്ചിലർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ JEE അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ സ്റ്റുഡൻറ് കോളേജ് ചെയ്യണം. സ്റ്റുഡൻറ് കോളേജ് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ എക്സ്പെൻസ് ഒന്നുകൂടി കൂടും. പ്രൈവറ്റ് പബ്ലിക് സ്റ്റുഡൻറ് കോളേജ് ഓരോ ഇതുണ്ട്. ജർമ്മനിൽ പഠിക്കാനാണെങ്കിൽ പ്ലാന് ജർമ്മൻ കോഴ്സസ്ക്ക് കുറച്ചുകൂടി പൈസ കൊടുക്കും. അതല്ലാതെ മെയിനായിട്ട് കോസ്റ്റ് വരുന്നത് ഒരു കൊല്ലം ഒരു ലിവിങ് കോസ്റ്റ് 12,000 euros ആയിട്ട് വരും. പിന്നെ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി അനുസരിച്ചായിരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ ഒരു TU മ്യൂണിക് അല്ലാതെ കാൾസ്രൂയിലെ KIT-യിലെ എന്താ ഈ ഫീസ് ചാർജ് ചെയ്യാത്ത യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിലാണെങ്കിൽ അറൌണ്ട് 12 to 15,000 euros will be enough. അത് 12,000 ഏകദേശം ഒരു 11 ലക്ഷം പെർ ഇയർ. അത് ലിവിങ് കോസ്റ്റ് ആണ്. എല്ലാതും വെച്ചാൽ ഇവിടെ ജീവിക്കാണ്ട് ഒരു കോസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് അതാണ് മെയിൻ കോസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നത്, ലിവിങ് കോസ്റ്റ്. പിന്നെ ഹെൽത്ത് ഇൻഷുറൻസ് ഒരു 1,600 euros വരും. പിന്നെ മേജർ കോസ്റ്റ് വരുന്നത് university fees ആയിരിക്കും. That depends on the university. So if you study in Baden-Württemberg, it will be 1,500 euros per sem. And if you study in TU Munich, that will be 3,000 per year, 3,000 to 4,000 per year, and so on. Ausbildung is vocational training, and for vocational training, it's done right after your +2 and after that one extra year to make up for your equivalency. And it's normally done for, let me just check to make sure the information I'm giving is right. So it's for like hands-on jobs, so electrician, mechanics, nursing. It's in English you would say trades, I would say. So you would study a trade and then you would work with the people. So you need to have a good German, so a B2 level German. You need to be able to interact with the German public to an Ausbildung. Mechatronics would not be, I saw a question here, would not be a Ausbildung, I believe. I think it falls under engineering, and I stand corrected. So I think mechatronics, what's this? There are mechatronics program in Ausbildung. I am wrong. I stand corrected. So there are Ausbildungs for mechatronics. I was wrong about that earlier. And I'm not sure much. I don't have much information about mechatronics, but I've seen mechatronics given as Ausbildung and as an undergraduate program at technical universities. So the difference would be mechatronics in Ausbildung would be hands-on. So you're actually working on the stuff. And the ones at technical universities studying BSc mechatronics would be more research and theory based. How much Mark needed to get scholarships? This will depend on the scholarship. Once again, I'll put the website once again. And this website will tell you about all the scholarships. You can go to the scholarship section and it will tell you about the requirements. It's the same website for postgraduate scholarships. And it's also the same website to find degree programs. Feel free to ask any more questions.
ഫയസ് ജർമ്മനിയിലെത്തിയ അതിന്റെ ചാനല് തുടക്കത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ലെങ്കിൽ മലയാളത്തിൽ ഒന്ന് ബ്രീഫായി പറഞ്ഞാൽ നന്നായിരുന്നു.
എന്ത്?
How Faiz reached there in Germany? What were the channels to reach there? It would be good if you explain that briefly in Malayalam.
ഞാൻ ജർമ്മനി പിക്ക് ചെയ്തതാണോ ചൂസ് ചെയ്തതാണോ അതോ അവിടെ എങ്ങനെ ലൈക് ഫിസിക്കലി എത്തിയത്?
How did you reach there? The channel.
Okay.
What channel?
എൻ്റെ മെയിൻ ജർമ്മനി ആദ്യം പിക്ക് ചെയ്തത് ബാക്കിൻ്റെ കൺട്രീസിൻ്റെ കൂടെ കമ്പാരിസൺ ചെയ്തിട്ട് കോസ്റ്റ് വൈസ് ആൻഡ് ക്വാളിറ്റി വൈസ് ഒരു ബെസ്റ്റ് ഓപ്ഷൻ ജർമ്മനി ആയിരുന്നു. സോ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഫീൽഡിൽ ജോബ്സ് നോക്കാനും നല്ലത് ജർമ്മനിയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു ഇൻറ്റുവേഷൻ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് ജർമ്മനി പിക്ക് ചെയ്തത്. ഞാൻ അപ്ലൈ ഫിസിക്കലി എൻ്റെ പ്രോസസ്സ് ഞാൻ ചെയ്തതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ KIT അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്തു. KITൻ്റെ എൻഡ് ഡേറ്റ് ഈ മാസത്തിൻ്റെ എൻഡിലാണ്. സോ ഇഫ് യു പ്ലാനിങ് ടു അപ്ലൈ ടു KIT മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഡു സോ ബിഫോർ 30th. അപ്പോൾ KITന്ന് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് SAT സ്കോർ ആവശ്യമുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് പ്രൊഫഷൻസി ഓൾറെഡി IB പ്രോഗ്രാം ക്വാളിഫൈ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. IB പ്രോഗ്രാം is also equivalent to German Abitur. So IB program qualifies as 13 years. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ക്വാളിഫിക്കേഷനൊക്കെ വെച്ചിട്ട് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്തു, കിട്ടി. പിന്നൊരു സ്ട്രഗിൾ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത് വെച്ചാൽ വിസ അപ്പോയിൻമെൻറ്റ് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാനായിരുന്നു. ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ ദുബായിലായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ദുബായിലാവുമ്പോൾ വിസ അപ്പോയിൻമെൻറ്റ്സ് കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല എനിക്ക്. ഞാൻ രാവിലെ 2 മണി വരെ എണീച്ചിരുന്നിട്ടൊക്കെ എല്ലാ ദിവസവും വിസ അപ്പോയിൻമെൻറ്റ്സ് നോക്കണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ അതൊന്നും കിട്ടണില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ദുബായ് വിട്ടിട്ട് നാട്ടിലേക്ക് വന്നിട്ട് നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്ത് നോക്കിയപ്പോൾ നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് പെട്ടെന്ന് കിട്ടി. നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് പെട്ടെന്ന് കിട്ടുന്ന ഒരു റീസൺ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഞാൻ ഇൻ്റർനാഷണൽ സ്കൂൾ വഴിയാണ് അപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ APS സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. നമ്മൾ ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്റ്റഡീസ് ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ടിൽ വരികയാണെങ്കിൽ APS സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് ആവശ്യമാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു ഇതില്ലാത്ത കാരണം രണ്ടും ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് പ്രോസസ്സായ കാരണം രണ്ടുക്കും വേറൊരു അപ്പോയിൻമെൻറ്റ് പൂൾസ് ആയിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് പെട്ടെന്ന് കിട്ടി. അപ്പോൾ നാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ബാംഗ്ലൂരിൽ പോയിട്ട് വിസക്കണ്ട് എല്ലാതും അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്തു. ബ്ലോക്ക്ഡ് അക്കൗണ്ടൊക്കെ കാണിച്ചു കൊടുത്തു. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഒരു 2-3 അതിൻ്റെ ടൈം ലൈൻ ഉറപ്പില്ല. പക്ഷേ പാസ്പോർട്ട് ഒരു വിത്തിൻ എ മന്ത് കിട്ടി. പാസ്പോർട്ടിൽ വിസ സ്റ്റാമ്പ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ വിസ തുടങ്ങേണ്ടത് സെപ്റ്റംബർ 26 ആയിരുന്നു. സോ ദിസ് വാസ് ഇൻ ഓഗസ്റ്റ്. സോ there was quite a bit of time before my visa started. ഉപ്പ ഞാൻ കൂടിയിട്ട് ജർമ്മനിക്ക് 26 തന്നെ പോയി. അതൊരു വീക്കെൻഡായിട്ടാണ് ഉപ്പ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. ഞാൻ ഓൾറെഡി അപ്പോൾ തന്നെ അക്കോമഡേഷൻ ഒക്കെ നോക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതൊക്കെ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. വേഗികസൂട്ട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടൊരു ആപ്പിലായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ സോ I was looking for shared accommodation and I had to see a few places. അവിടെ എത്തിയിട്ട് 2-3 സ്ഥലത്ത് നോക്കി. എന്നിട്ട് ലാൻഡ് ലോഡിനോട് വർത്താൻ പറഞ്ഞു, ഒരു പ്ലേസ് എടുത്തു. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി ഓറിയന്റേഷൻ ഫേസ് ആയിരുന്നു. ഓറിയന്റേഷൻ ഫേസിൽ എല്ലാ ബേസിക് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ എല്ലാതും ഗ്യാദർ ചെയ്തു. എല്ലാതും സെറ്റപ്പ് ചെയ്തു. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു ബാങ്ക് അക്കൗണ്ട് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. പിന്നെ അവിടെ എത്തിയിട്ട് സിറ്റി രജിസ്ട്രേഷൻ എല്ലാതും സെറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. അതല്ലാതെ വേറെ വലുതായിട്ടൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. റേസിസം റേസിസം ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ നമ്മളൊരു പഴയ ജർമ്മൻ മാപ്പ് എടുത്താൽ ഈസ്റ്റ് ജർമ്മനി വെസ്റ്റ് ജർമ്മനി പാർട്ടീഷൻ പറഞ്ഞതുണ്ട് World War II കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട്. അതിൽ വെസ്റ്റ് ജർമ്മൻ ഭാഗം ഇപ്പോഴും ആ ഡിവൈഡ് ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും ആ ഡിവൈഡ് ഒരു സൈക്കോളജിക്കലി സ്റ്റേറ്റിൽ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഈസ്റ്റും വെസ്റ്റ് ജർമ്മനിലും ഡിഫറൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. വെസ്റ്റ് ജർമ്മൻ ഭാഗത്ത് ഞാൻ പറയാ വെച്ചാൽ റേസിസം വലിയൊരു പ്രശ്നമല്ലേ. Karlsruhe especially, like I said, a lot of people are international students. ഈ കാർൽസുവത്തെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ബിസിനസ് വരുന്നത് KIT ആണ്. KIT employs around 60% of all people in Karlsruhe. So it's very dependent on the students, and racism is not a big problem here. However, in the eastern side of Germany, I would not say it's the same. Now, I heard this from a friend's mom, who is American, not Indian by any chance. She's American, and she's also from Latin America, and she speaks decent German, not amazing German, but enough German so that you don't think she's not German. And when she was in the eastern side of Germany, there were people who came up to her and said, go back to your country. So as long as you're not that much you're not going to places that are known for racism, you will be fine. Obviously, in East Germany, there's Berlin, which is a whole exception, as Berlin is just an international city. It's just English at this point. You'll be fine with just English. Suggest universities for masters in IT field. IT field എൻ്റെ ഒരു സ്പെഷ്യലൈസേഷൻ അല്ല. ഞാനൊന്ന് സ്ക്രീൻ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യാം. ഞാൻ ഒരു സജഷൻ തരേണ്ടതിൽ സെക്കൻഡ് ഇതാ. അപ്പോൾ ഞാനൊരു ഈ എല്ലാവരും ചോദിക്കേണ്ട സ്ഥിതിക്ക് യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റീസ് സജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യൽ എങ്ങനെ വെച്ചാൽ ഈ QS ടോപ്പ് റാങ്കിങ്സിൽ പോയിട്ട് സ്റ്റാർട്ടിങ് തന്നെ എടുത്തരാം. റാങ്കിങ്സ് ബൈ സബ്ജക്റ്റ് എക്സ്പ്ലോർ, ഒരു ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് പിക്ക് ചെയ്യാം. അങ്ങനെ ഇല്ല, ഫിൽറ്റേഴ്സ് പോവാം. Now you said IT, so that will be engineering and technology. But if you want data science, computer science and information systems, then you search Germany here. You apply these filters, you'll see there's something wrong. Let me just do that again. MIT is the best in the world. When you apply to Germany, Munich, TU Munich, Ludwig Maximilians University München, TU Berlin, KIT, Raut Aachen, Humboldt University zu Berlin, University Heidelberg, Technical University of Darmstadt, and so on. So this is the overall rank in the world, and just 1 to 3 is just rank in Germany. Is KIT public university? Yes, KIT is a public university, and KIT is part of TU9, which is the top 9 technical universities in Germany. You're welcome. Any other questions? ഞാൻ ഇപ്പോൾ തന്നെ ഒന്ന് ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഡിസ്ക്ലെയിമർ ആയിട്ടൊന്ന് പറയാം. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ റിസർച്ച് എല്ലാതും ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക് ചെയ്തത്, ഏജൻസി വഴിയൊന്നല്ല. ഈ ഓൺലൈൻ വെച്ചിട്ട് റിസോഴ്സ് വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് എല്ലാതും നോക്കി കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച് എടുത്തത്. സോ if you can try, like if you want it, you will get there. Online resources are plenty enough for you to get to Germany. Is Western Germany is better than East Germany? I wouldn't make that statement, but in terms of tolerance and accepting people who are out of their country, Western Germany is better. When I say Western Germany, I'm talking about the time when Germany was split up between the Soviets and the US after World War II. But that partition is, while it's not there like I said, while it's not physically there, you will see it in a lot of cultural settings. So one of the cultural settings being tolerance. Western Germany is more tolerant than Eastern Germany, and yeah, you won't feel you won't face racism in Western Germany as much as you would in East Germany. Like I said, I've lived here around 7 months now. I have not faced any racism, and I think it's pretty decent. Do you need a degree to apply? You don't need a degree to apply for undergraduates. So a friend of mine who came from Kerala, what he did was he did 1 year of bachelor's in a university in Kerala. I'm not sure which one, of mechanical engineering, and so he had direct admission for Karlsruhe. So and then he applied for KIT, and then he came here after finishing 1 year of bachelor's of mechanical engineering in Kerala, and he got credit points for that 1 year, so it was not complete to waste. So he was able to skip a few modules of the course with his credit points, and he also had a better basis in all of the subjects than other students who came directly out of high school. So you don't need a degree to apply for undergraduate programs. However, if you're applying for postgraduates, you do need a degree. Do you know of any exams needed for masters in Germany? I am not sure about that. I think um, that will depend on the university, but you might have to show that either your bachelor's was done fully in English, so you'll have to show that the main language of instruction is in English, or if you're planning to study in English, and show that you meet the English requirement by TOEFL or IELTS or so on. But I don't think there are any exams. It's best that you check with the university you're planning to apply to. So check under the requirements if they require anything. For, like I said, for undergraduates, once again, it depends. For KIT, I needed to take the SAT, and I had to get a score above 1,200, which is not hard at all to get. I think 1,200 it's a very easy score to get, and you'll be fine with the SAT test. And this depends on university to university. Any more questions?
ഓക്കെ, കൂടുതൽ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് വൈൻഡ് അപ്പ് ചെയ്യാവുന്നതാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഇതിന്റെ ഒരു റെക്കോർഡ് സെഷൻ നമ്മുടെ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനലിലേക്ക് പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. കുറച്ച് ആളുകൾ അത് ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, ഇനി ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്ത് ചോദിക്കാം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് വൈൻഡ് അപ്പ് ചെയ്യാം.
ഞാനൊരു എൻ്റെ ഇമെയിൽ അഡ്രസ്സ് എന്താ ചാറ്റിലിട്ടിക്കണം. If anyone's interested to talk to me more or want personal advice or so on, feel free to reach out to me on this email address.
Definitely,
Yeah.
we would like to reach out to you. Need more information. I'm Afsar Babu, and thank you. I'll get in touch with through your email. Thank you.
You're welcome.
ഓക്കെ, ഒന്ന് രണ്ട് പേർ കൂടി നമുക്ക് ഒരു ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്ക് വൈൻഡ് അപ്പ് ചെയ്യാം. ആരെങ്കിലും ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്ത് സംസാരിക്കാവുന്നതാണ്.
If nobody turns up, I would like to.
Go on.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I listen every week, these sessions. So every time, different kinds of perspectives, people give sessions and their experiences. But today it was quite a different one. It was like living in Germany. We got an experience of a feel of living in Germany, especially racism, which part is good, how to go there, how to prefer, and the kind of, your communication style. It was in a good flow and there was no delay. You got ready at hand everything, every information, pinpoint to the point. I'm here to say you're a brilliant personality. You are an asset to Kerala. Go ahead, continue your studies, and come back to the society and give more. Expect from you more. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you for your
Thank-
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
ഓക്കെ, മറ്റാർക്കെങ്കിലും ജസ്റ്റ് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്ത് പറയാൻ സാധിക്കുമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് ചാറ്റ് ബോക്സിലേക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഫീഡ്ബാക്കുകൾ ഒന്ന് അറിയിച്ചാൽ മതി. ഓക്കെ. ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ യുവർ വാല്യുബിൾ സെഷൻ ഓൺ സ്റ്റഡി ഇൻ ജർമ്മനി. നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന പോലെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് മറ്റൊരു രാജ്യത്ത് പോയിട്ട് എങ്ങനെ പഠിക്കണം എന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ച് അവിടെയുള്ള ആളുകൾ തന്നെ നമ്മളോട് സംവദിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സെഷനായിട്ടാണ് ഇത് വന്നിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഇതിന്റെ എല്ലാ ഭാഗങ്ങളും എങ്ങനെ സ്റ്റഡി ചെയ്യാം, ഏതൊക്കെ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റികളാണ്, അടുത്ത കോഴ്സുകൾ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അവിടെ ലിവിങ് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് എല്ലാം വളരെ വിശദമായിട്ട് നമ്മളോട് സംവദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് മിസ്റ്റർ ഫായിസ്. സിജി കരിയർ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ പേരിൽ എല്ലാവിധ നന്ദിയും താങ്ക്സും അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇനിയും നിങ്ങൾക്കുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ മെയിൽ വഴി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാം. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സിജിയുടെ കരിയർ ഗൈഡൻസ് ആൻഡ് കൗൺസിലിംഗ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മലപ്പുറം, കോഴിക്കോട് സെന്ററുകളിൽ സൗജന്യമായിട്ട് അവൈലബിൾ ആണ്. ആ രീതിയിലും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ സംശയങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കാം. അതുപോലെ നിലവിൽ മാധ്യമം എജു കഫേ നടത്തുന്ന എജു കഫേയിലും കോഴിക്കോട്, മലപ്പുറം സെന്ററുകളിലൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സിജിയുടെ ഫ്രീ കരിയർ ഗൈഡൻസ് അവൈലബിൾ ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിലൂടെയൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഡൗട്ട്സ് ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. ആ രീതിയിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഡൗട്ട്സ് ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യുക. ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച് ഫോർ യുവർ വാല്യുബിൾ സെഷൻ. Okay, we can wind up.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone for listening in and asking excellent questions. And I wish good luck to everyone on their future endeavors. And I hope to see some of you guys studying alongside me in Germany.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.